Good evening, it's the Dean Legge Show here on Dog Post. We're trying some new things. We'll see if it works out. All of a sudden it looks like one of these is definitely not working out, so maybe I should stop recording. Okay, now I think we are actually live. So I have been trying to get some new things going here. It looks like we are live, amazingly, on Twitter and a couple of other places. But this is Dean Legge. I'm going to do my best here to work us through a new setup here that I've got. It may or may not be perfect here at the beginning, but you know, we're going to talk about the Georgia Bulldogs again. It's a Tuesday night. We're not so far from the start of the season here. 4 days, is that right? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever, 5 days. So not that many days left. And in that time, we're going to be traveling quite a bit still to go see commitments in faraway places. But Georgia is getting ready for the season. And really high expectation season it is. The Bulldogs taking on Austin Peay as the #3 team in the country here in a few days. I know one of the things that I will be most interested in seeing is Georgia quarterback Jake Fromm, who has you know, definitely had a lot of competition this run up to the season. You know, it will be, if it seems like I'm rambling, I'm trying to get some of this stuff to work, and it is not currently working the way I would like it to, and it probably is because the computer is freaking out just a little bit more than it should. It looks like it's not going to help me out here, which was kind of the whole point of doing this. Not that y'all really care. I see that we do have a little bit of an audience. I can't see every single thing that y'all post. Oh, now it's going to work. Okay, outstanding. This is some practice footage from earlier today up at Georgia. The Bulldogs the usual get up for the Dogs on a Tuesday. But you know, after practice, Kirby Smart met with the Redcoat Band, talked with them a little bit about you know, why that's important. You know, him saying how much that the Redcoats really help Georgia, which they do, I would argue. Here's Jake Fromm. Here we go. Magic of television, if you will. It's going to be an interesting run here for Jake. I mean, you're talking about a guy who had an outstanding freshman season, and a guy who you know, has a lot of expectations on his shoulders here. Some people are saying he could be a Heisman Trophy candidate, no doubt. It will depend on how he plays. He's going to have to be more productive than he was last year, I think, in order for him to get to New York. But he can. And you know, Jake is what's the word? Competitive. You can see when he's out there that he has full control of the situation at Georgia, and he's yelling at or towards guys for them to get in position. He is not the most physically gifted quarterback on campus, but he's not ungifted either. I mean, he's, if that's even a term, he is you know, look, of all the quarterbacks in the recent past, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Murray, you know, whoever, there have been some pretty good quarterbacks at Georgia since Mark Richt arrived, since really the departure of Mike Bobo, I guess you could say. And Jake Fromm has done more than most, that's for sure. But he has pressure this year on him in the form of Justin Fields. And just how much will Justin play? I mean, look, when you compare to the two quarterbacks, they are different for sure. One thing that you notice if you watch them pretty hard is that Jake Fromm is more vocal currently, at least when we're at practice, than Justin Fields is. But he's also seems to have a very good grasp of the offense in a way that that you'd expect a guy coming into a second season would, that a first-year guy wouldn't. Even though yesterday Kirby had a lot of good things to say about Justin. Let me see if I can roll this right now. This could be a dicey thing. I'll just keep talking.
Yeah, Justin, I mean, you think about when you start out in college and you really should be a senior in high school and you walk into a system that you've never heard or done and you go through spring practice. You know, I was very pleased when he went through spring practice, what he was able to pick up and command. He did a great job this summer of coming in, studying, understanding things, knowing where protections are, knowing where he's got to read certain things at second level. He does a really good job with the academic element of the quarterback position. That usually transcends into good decision-making, because if you know where you're supposed to go with the ball and you know when the first option's not there and you can get to the second and third, you're starting to pick things up. He's done a good job in this camp of being able to move on and make the decisions you got to make at quarterback to make winning decisions. That's why we're very confident in Justin and what he's been able to do. I'm very pleased with where he's at. Now, he has to continue to improve. So does Jake. They both got to get better, because for us to go where we want to go, we may have to put more burden on those two guys. But right now, they're making good decisions. They understand the offense. And for the first time, they have a limited game plan where it's not the whole playbook, which we did in camp.
Maybe that will make a big difference. I mean, you're going to hear Kirby come up again here in a few minutes, but maybe that will make a big difference in how much these guys share time. I mean, with Jake Fromm, you're talking about a guy who, again, led Georgia to a conference championship, a Rose Bowl win that hasn't happened in 75 years. Just a lot of good things happened while Jake Fromm was under center. What we don't know is what the difference will be when Justin Fields gets out there. Is it going to be one of these things where Georgia looks a lot different? Apparently not, according to Kirby. Is it going to be... I mean, people should notice how much more physically gifted, if you want to call it that, Justin is. But that's not all that playing quarterback is at the college level. Now, you got to have certain things. Jake Fromm has plenty of those things. That's not really an issue for him. But I will be interested to see how Justin Fields performs, because I do think there's going to be a time during the season that they actually need Justin. When that will be, I don't know. That's not as easy to pick up on. Sort of as other things. But I mean, Jake Fromm I expect to start. I also expect Jake Fromm to play the bulk of the game. I don't know why he wouldn't play the bulk of the game. And we'll just see where it goes. The guy in control of all this, Georgia head coach Kirby Smart, is entering his third season at Georgia. And expectations are high for Kirby too. I mean, this is a team now that's number 3 team in the country coming into the season. People expect them to be in Atlanta for sure. A lot of Las Vegas expects them to be in the playoff one way or the other. And if you think about it, it's not like that's really that much of a stretch for this team. I mean, they are loaded up and ready to go. There's very few places that Georgia does not have what it needs in this program. There's just not a lot of spots. So we will see what this third season for Kirby brings. I'm reminded of Dan Wolken's unfortunate tweet or statement or whatever it was, is that, you know, about Kirby not being able to get Georgia to Atlanta last year. All I could say to that is I would have liked to have seen how they didn't get to Atlanta. Of course they did. But I'd be curious to see how they don't get back to Atlanta this year if they don't get back to Atlanta. I mean, back in Atlanta, and I fully expect them to compete for the national championship. This team is loaded up at the spots you need them to be loaded up at in order to win. And it's a good team. I think great is something that we're going to have to see how this season progresses. I mean, this is This is a program that's as good as anybody else in college football right now. And you look across the board, I mean, losing Zamir White hurts to me, for sure. But beyond losing Zamir, what don't these guys have? And you're by the way, you're losing a 5-star talent that spot with, multiple very good running backs, if not, and certainly another high-level guy, and DeAndre Swift, who's done it already. So you have him and Elijah and all these different guys. Georgia has what it needs to be competitive on the national level. I will be very interested to see how they react to playing at South Carolina. That will be a big, big one for me. But, really more than anything, the entire program is going to, at some stage during the season, everybody has to perform. For a long time in 2017, that wasn't the quarterback spot. Then it became the quarterback spot, and Jake Fromm took care of that. The running backs took care of business pretty much the entire season. They had a hard time against Auburn the first game. Rodrigo had to do what he had to do. That's how they beat Notre Dame. Everywhere you look, at some point in the season, guys are going to have to save the program, save the team, whatever you want to call it. And when that happens, when it's your time to shine, you better shine or you're going to lose the game. And that's what we don't know, is who is going to have to step up, when, and can they do it. With the exception of one play last season, and perhaps one half against Auburn, Georgia did step up all the way. So this has been just sort of an experiment on my end to see what went wrong on my apparatus here, and I can see that several things went wrong. So I apologize for it not being a traditional show in the way that y'all have grown accustomed to, but we will get it right sooner than later. And join me on Saturday after the game. We'll have plenty of takes from Georgia's first, certainly, win of the year as they get ready for South Carolina the next week. So this is Dean Legge signing off for Dog Post. We will see you on the flip side.